So, I've been wanting to do this video for a while, and if there are um, s- visual and audio issues, please blame Hewlett Packard and Best Buy, as they both say there's nothing wrong with my computer. And in the honor of Halloween here, I am doing the top 10 books that give me the creeps, or the heebie jeebies, or the shivers. Top 10 horror books. Um, Welcome to the D. Louise Book Series. I'm Christina Kairos, Tina. This is where we read books and talk about books. No special effects going on here. Just me reading books and talking books. And my husband said I couldn't do this video without some kind of fancy prop. So this is my fancy prop for horror videos. What do you think? So, let's see if it sits. I tried to, has that a little bit better? Um, Top 10 horror books for the heebie-jeebies, for the... Let's see. In no particular order except the best one at the bottom. T. Kingfisher, A House with Good Bones. Her brother's words echoed in Sam Montgomery's ear as she turns onto the quiet North Carolina street where their mother lives alone. She brushes through She brushes the thought away as she climbs the front steps. Sam's excited for the rare extended visit and looking forward to nights with just the two of them. Drinking box wine, watching murder mystery shows, and guessing who the killer is long before the characters figure it out. But stepping inside, she quickly realizes home isn't what it used to be. Gone is the warm, cluttered charm her mom is known for. Now the walls are painted sterile white. Her mom jumps at the smallest noises and looks over her shoulder, even when she's the only person in the room. And when Sam steps out back to clear her head, she finds a jar of teeth hidden beneath the magazine worthy rose bushes, and vultures are circling the garden from above. To find out what's got her mom so frightened in her own home, Sam will go digging for the truth. Some secrets are better worth buried. Book 1. Book 2. The Salt Crows Heavy. S. Cassandra Ah. You may think you know how the fairy tale goes. A mermaid comes to shore and weds the prince. But what the fables forget is the mermaids have teeth, and now her daughters have devoured the kingdom and burned it to ashes. On the run, the mermaid is joined by a mysterious plague doctor with darkness of their own. Deep in the eerie, snow-crusted forest, the pair stumble upon a village of ageless children who thirst for blood, and the three saints who control them. The mermaid and her doctor must embrace the cruelest parts of their true nature if they hope to survive. Ah, The Haunting of Alejandra V. Castro. Alejandra is no longer knows who she is. To her husband, she is a wife. To her children, a mother. To her own adoptive mother, she is a daughter. But they cannot see who Alejandra has become. A woman struggling with darkness that threatens to consume her. Now they can Now, nor can they see what Alejandra sees. In times of despair, a ghostly vision appears to her, the apparition of a crying woman in a ragged white gown. When Alejandra visits a therapist, she begins exploring her family's history, starting with the biological mother she never knew. As she goes deeper into the lives of the women in her family, she learns that her heartbreak and tragedy are not the only things she has in common with her ancestors. Because the crying woman was with them too, she is L.A. Leona, the vengeful and murderous mother of Mexican legend, and she will not leave until Alejandra follows her mother, her grandmother, and all the women who came before her into the darkness. Interesting. Tell me I'm worthless. And sometimes I feel that way. 3 years ago, Alice spent one night in an abandoned house with her friends Illa and Hannah. Since then, Alice has lived a haunted existence, selling videos of herself for money, going to parties she hates, drinking herself to sleep. Memories of that night torment Alice, but when Illa asks her to return to the house, she knows she must go. Together they must face the horrors that happen there and must pull themselves apart from the inside out, put their differences aside, and try to rescue Hannah, whom the house has chosen to make its own. Tell me I'm worthless. Allison Rumfit. The only one left. Riley Sagar. Now reduced to a schoolyard chant, the Hope family murder shocked the Maine coast one bloody night in 1929. While most people assume 17-year-old Lenora was responsible, the police were never able to prove it. Other than her denial after the killing, she has never spoken publicly about that night, nor has she set foot outside Hope's End, the cliffside mansion where the massacre occurred. It's now 1983, and home health aide Kit McDare arrives at a decaying Hope's End to care for Lenora after her previous nurse fled in the middle of the night. In her 70s and confined to a wheelchair, Lenora was rendered mute by a series of strokes and can only communicate with Kit by tapping out sentences on an old typewriter. One night, Lenora uses it to make a tantalizing offer. "I want to tell you everything." "It wasn't me," Lenora said, "but she's the only one not dead." Or is she? Out there screaming. Jordan Peele. A cop begins seeing huge blinking eyes where the headlights of cars should be that tell him who to pull over. Two Freedom Riders take a bus ride that leaves them stranded on a lonely road in Alabama, where several unsettling somethings await them. A young girl dives into the depths of the earth in search of the demon that killed her parents. These are just a few of the worlds of Out There Screaming, Jordan Peele's anthology of all new horror stories by Black writers. Ah, Black female, approximately mid-30s, alone, driving a $100,000 Tesla. Yeah, car would have stopped her regardless. Casually dressed, not light-skinned or pretty enough to be someone's wealthy man's side piece. "What seems to be the problem, officer?" she asks as he comes up to the window. Hands in clear view on the steering wheel, no expression on her face, no smell of weed or anything else illicit. But he'll find something. There's always something when he sees the eyes. "License and registration," he says. "Is there some reason you've pulled me over? I'm pretty sure I wasn't speeding." "License and registration, please." She hesitates a moment longer, the silence between them punitive by the windy drone of passing cars. Carl could take her in on hesitation alone, obstruction or maybe resisting, but he waits. He's a patient guy. After a moment, she takes her hands off the wheel slowly. I'm going to reach in my pocket here on my car door. I keep my registration and other information in a small folder here. May I pull it out? Be my guest. So many how to talk to police videos on TikTok these days. She hands him two cards. One is the registration, which is current. The other is his license, which is also current. And stuck to it appears by chance is her membership card for the National Lawyers Guild. So if you want to see what happens, you gotta read the book. The Devil Takes You Home. Gabino Iglesias, if I'm saying that right. Buried in debt due to his young daughter's illness, his marriage at the brink, Mario reluctantly takes a job as a hitman, surprising himself with his proclivity for violence. After tragedy destroys the life he knew, Mario agrees to one final job, hijacking a drug cartel's cash shipment before it reaches Mexico. Along with an old friend and a cartel insider, Mario sets off on the near suicidal mission, which will leave him with either a cool 200,000 or a bullet in his skull. But the path is to reward or ruin is never as straight as it seems. As the three complicated men travel through the endless Texas landscape, across the border and back, their hidden motivations are laid bare along nightmarish encounters that defy explanation. One thing is certain, even if Mario makes it out alive, he's going to return a different man. The Spite House. Johnny Compton. Eric Ross is on the run from a mysterious past with his two daughters in tow when he comes across a strange ad for the mansion house in Degginger, Texas. Eric thinks they may have finally caught a lucky break. The most haunted place in Texas needs a caretaker. All they need to do is stay in the house and keep a detailed record of everything that happens there, provided the house horrors don't drive them all mad like the caretakers before them. The job calls to Eric not just because there's a huge potential payout, but because he needs access to the secrets of the Spite House. If it is indeed haunted, maybe it will help him understand the uncanny power that clings to his family, driving them from town to town too afraid to stop running. The Spite House. How to Sell a Haunted House. Grady Hendrick. When Louise finds out that her parents have died, she dreads going home. She doesn't want to leave her daughter with her ex and fly to Charleston. She doesn't want to deal with her family home stuffed to the rafters with remnants of her father's academic career and her mother's lifelong obsession with puppets and dolls. She doesn't want to learn how to live without the two people who knew and loved her best in the world. Most of all, she doesn't want to deal with her brother Mark, who never left their hometown, gets fired from one job after another, and resents her success. Unfortunately, she'll need his help to get the house ready for sale, because it'll take more than some new paint on the walls and clearing out a lifetime of memories to get this place on the market. But some houses don't want to be sold, and Louise and Mark's home has other plans for the both of them. What are those plans? We'll have to read the book to find out. And this guy is one I consider there are two kings of horror. Two. Maybe three. Mainly two. Mr. Koontz. Mr. Dean Koontz. And this guy. Stephen King, The Holly. When Penny Dow calls the Finder Keepers Detective Agency for help locating her missing daughter, Holly is reluctant to accept the case, but something in Penny Dow's desperate voice makes it impossible for Holly to turn her down. Mere blocks from where Bonnie Dow disappeared live Professors Rodney and Emily Harris. They are married octogenarians devoted to each other and semi-retired lifelong academics, but they are harboring an unholy secret in the basement of their well-kept home, one that may be related to Bonnie's disappearance, and it will prove nearly impossible to discover what they are up to. They are savvy, they are patient, and they are ruthless. And there you have the top 10 books will give you nightmares. At least for the delicate people like me. Stephen King, Molly. Grady Hendrix, How to Sell a Haunted House. What would you do? What would you do? Could you sell a haunted house? I'd love to go in a really, really old house. It's never been that no one's in, and if they left papers. Do you see those videos on YouTube? And these people go through these houses and people just left stuff everywhere. I want the documents. I want the documents. I want to put them online so that the family can find themselves and preserve the documents. I'm all about the documents in the newspapers. You can have the china and you can, clean the house out, but I'm looking for those special items. Receipts and documents, especially if it's over 100 years old. If it's pre 1900, I'm in. Right? How to sell a haunted house. I'm in. Not for the haunted part, but for the archaeology historical part. The Spite House. That sounds like one of those too. Those houses that people abandoned. Here's another one I was looking at the other day. Oh. Well, that's a cozy, but we'll get to it. The Devil Takes You Home. I don't know. Scary. This one looks really eerie. If you got a minute. So she had pulled out her thing, and it had the membership card for the National Lawyers Guild, also current. He glances at her. She gazes off down the gently curving length of the interstate, as if unconcerned about his presence or whatever he might think of her little. Do you know who I am? Play. That's not important, though. Where is her phone? Most drivers keep it on the seat or in the console next to him, or attached to a dash cradle. If it's out of sight, call state allows one-party recording. Best to assume the worst. So he hands back the woman's documents. Thank you, ma'am. Have a nice day. She looks fully at him for the first time, still with neutral face, but her eyes are cold. Truth always lies in the eyes. Can you tell me why you pulled me over, Officer Billings? Well, I can see them now, but at first I thought there was an issue with your headlights. He moves away from the window and onto the front door. Her headlights are still on, and he's familiar with what make and model should have LEDs with white rim inward slanting. What's actually on the front of the woman's car are prettier than LEDs and sly-looking. They shift to follow him as he moves in their range. Brown irises just like those of the driver, and just as cold. No blinking, no ducking. His gaze just a steady, sharp stare back. Whatever she's up to, because it's always something, she is ready for him. See what happens. That just is creepy because I don't want to know what he's going to do. I just don't want to know. And the only one left. Sounds like 10 Little Indians, Agatha Christie. Ah, what does she know? Is the killer still alive? Tell me I'm worthless. This took a while to put together, too. The Haunting of Alejandro. The Salt Crow's Heavy. That title doesn't make a hill of beans of sense, but whatever. And The House with Good Bones. We've got 3 books with houses in them. If you could please hit the like and subscribe, and appreciate If Then, the horror version. And don't forget to check out Flashback Monday, where I talk about all the books in my favorite magazine, and I review probably 80 of them. We talk paranormals, romance, contemporary romance, suspense, mystery, paranormal, erotica, and Harlequin. And don't forget my recaps, Star Trek Next Generation, that was on before this. And have a good Halloween. Thank you.